In a magic realm where everyone uses magic at their will, making it a normal part of everyday life, it is believed that magic is a gift given by God. With a high emphasis placed on its mastery, magic determines one's social status in the world. Deep within the forest where dragons fly about is normal, the animals tremble in fear with their mouths wide open as they watch Mash bench press a ridiculous amount of weight like it's nothing. His existence simply defies the natural order. As he racks the weight and enjoys a cream puff, he states that there is nothing like eating one after pumping iron. In a hut nearby, his father, Burndead Regro, casually sits on his chair while using magic to pour himself a drink. In his old age, very little bothers him because through his experiences, he has acquired ways to combat stress. This is put to the test when Manayash tries to enter the house and rips the whole door off. This causes the old man to scream. He wants to know why the hell he ripped the doors off their hinges. His son explains that he couldn't remember if it was supposed to push or pull. This excuse perplexes the old-timer because Mash has been living in the house for years. Mash begins to feel bad about his actions and quickly apologizes, promising to fix it, and Brenda calms when he sees the kid is remorseful for his stupidity. But he starts to panic again when Mash tries to fix the door as he turns to the side and continually bashes it against the door frame. He attempts to school them to turn it back, but he's unable to do it in time, resulting in Mash doing further damage to the door. At this point, he has given up, so he pours some tea for both of them to take. He confirms his son has finished the day's training routine. Mash asks why all of his workouts are physical. Brinded pauses for a moment before answering. Internally, he is thinking that Mash is not like ordinary people because he can't use magic at all, so the best option would be to build him up physically instead. However, Bernadette doesn't give him an answer and tell him not to worry. He gets up and tells his son that he is heading out for a little while, so he is trusting him to take care of their crib. Mash is happy with the agreement and has figured out how to fix the door. His father wants him to learn how to open and close it instead. Bernadette reminds him not to venture into the city while he's away. However, as soon as his father turns away, he removes a flyer from a bakery advertising a limited edition flavor cream puff. He puts on a cloak and runs straight towards the city as he's unable to resist the treats despite his father's strong warnings. Mash is an absolute menace. He arrives in the city, which allows him to blend in more easily. He looks around and notices that everyone is using magic to the point that they're using it for things that can be done simply using their hand. He arrives at the bakery, and the smell of the freshly baked pastries and dessert makes his body rise up with excitement, causing him to clutching his fists. Mash steps forward and places an order for 7 pieces of the limited edition cream puffs. The baker is shocked when he hands over the coins because they are mangled. Mash comments that he got too excited and squished them in his hand on his journey to the shop. The baker is sure that they don't bend when someone squeezes them in their hands. The young man apologizes as he straightens them. This feat causes the worker to scream in shock. He calms down after a moment and hands Mash over his orders. A sudden dust of wind removes his head, revealing his face. Everyone immediately looks at him with worried expressions. They begin to whisper and panic, stating that they don't see a mark on his face. Meanwhile, Brad at Magic Police Headquarters reads the daily newspaper, which reports on the year's Divine Visionary. The chosen student is renamed a second year at Easton Magic Academy. This title is awarded to the pupil who demonstrates the highest degree of excellence throughout the year. Brad gets salty looking at it and compares it to his boring life and job. He has someone bound up in a cell. The man pleads for forgiveness, confessing that he only stole something small. His whimpering only makes Brad angrier because his crime has given him more work than already has. The office prepares to give him a punishment that will make him regret his crime, but the prisoner is saved by a call. Someone informs Brad that a young man is wandering the city streets without a mark. While back on the streets, Mash wonders, oblivious to what is causing all the fuss as people stare at him. He remembers the warnings his dad gave him and apologizes to the vision of his father. But he feels like it was well worth making the journey for the goblin cream puffs. His stroll is interrupted when he bumps into policeman Terry. The officer gets peeved that he got some of the fillings on his uniform, but he's at fault because he's goofy. The young man tries to seek forgiveness by offering him a tasty cream puff, but Terry slaps it right out of his hand. As he continues to scold him, Mash rips his uniform, which quickly shocks everyone. He was intending to wash it and return it to the officer. Brad arrives at the scene and quickly makes Terry fall back. He looks over to see Mash, who is enjoying his dessert. The officer is confused as to why he's been so relaxed in such a concerning situation. Before he can fully interact with the unmarked kid, Burndead swipes his son and dashes off. Brad sees this as a great opportunity to get a promotion, so he sends a magic bird to follow the two. As soon as the father and son get home, Burndead scolds Mash for going into the city despite being warned many times. The old-timer quickly realizes that his son is regretful about his actions. This relaxes him slightly, but he still punishes him by having him repeat that morning's training routine. Mash accepts his dad's punishment, but before he heads to work out, he gives him the cream puffs he bought for him. Burndead rushes to the door to open it for Mash. After remembering what happened earlier on, he really can't stay mad because he knows at heart that Mash is a good kid. Burndead knows that he's the age where he wants to go out and explore the world on his own, but they have also been living in isolation to make sure that he's safe. Following on from the situation in town, the father is sure that the magic police have caught wind of Mash and his different trait. As he plans his next move, Burndead spots a bird sitting on a branch looking right into the house. Before he can think, one side of the home is infringed by a special unit led by Brad. He smugly greets the old man and asks the whereabouts of his son's location. All the while, Mash heads into the woods and begins to move the weights like they aren't real. This time, the little squirrel is absolutely horrified by what it is seeing. However, the situation gets even more bizarre when he says that he can finish the workout in under 5 minutes if he puts his mind to it. As he heads back home to eat his favorite dessert, he sings a song about the food he's about to eat. When he reaches the door, the same problem strikes again as he wonders if it is a push or a pull. He pauses when he overhears the special unit leader talking. At this point, Brad has burned it up and grabs him by the neck. The officer reveals that the reason why magic has flourished since the beginning of time is that they have aggressively rid themselves of those who are not able to naturally use magic. This is a necessary sacrifice to maintain this balance within society, so in order to maintain standards, his son must be removed. The old-timer remains tight-lipped, leaving Brad with nothing to do but to throw him around out of frustration. The officer reminds him that it is a serious and punishable offense to shelter an unmarked. As he sits there, Burndead thinks how his whole life he was labeled as a failure in every aspect of life. The label has continued into his adulthood, and it has become unbearable. So one night he went to end it all. However, he paused when he heard baby Mash crying. He noticed that he was abandoned because he was unmarked. When he picked him up, he began to laugh, which brought out emotions within him, so he decided to keep him and raise him as they were both rejected by society. The first time in his life that he felt like he was useful. Even though they are not related by blood, he will always be a father to Mash. Burndead begins to shout, instructing his son to run away as fast as he could. While Brad tries to shut him up, he orders his men to scan the area for him. He must be close enough to hear the warning they think. The old man continues to shout as he's getting beaten. The officer has finally had enough and charges up a spell to finish off Burndead. However, Mash comes in hot with an insanely powerful punch right through the door, instantly knocking the first subordinate unconscious. Everyone can't believe their eyes as the raw power he just displayed was far from normal. As he stands there, his hands still smoking like a rifle after being shot, Terry marches over to intimidate him, but once again he rips up his shirt again and begins to unleash a barrage of slaps that knock him out. Mash reveals to Burndead that he didn't run because their family stick together. He then turns to Brad and tells him that he's going to send them to hell. Brad finds this hilarious. He doesn't see how Mash can take him down without magic. By this point, Terry has slowly regained consciousness, and the results of the slaps are there for all to see. He reveals that the special unit leader was on the Bureau of Magic's security force. The mages in the area can't compare to him, let alone the kid who lacks the magic ability. Brad charges up a spell while others state that the spell is strong enough to drive away a dragon. The officer fires it, but Mash displays an insane flick of the wrist and swats it away like you would slap away a buzzing fly. Brad can't believe his eyes, leaving him startled for a moment. He quickly regroups and fires a stronger spell, even though Terry pleads for him not to release it. Brad is lost for words as Mash sends it back, making it jets back past his head and explodes deep in the forest. He continues to fire off more attacks, but the boy continues to deflect them with style, even arrogantly juggling some. Mash picks up his father's wand and asks permission to use it. The officer thinks that he's got magic and quickly shields himself. But to his surprise, Mash launches the wand at the officer, which shatters the barrier and leaves a little cut on Brad's cheek. He falls to the ground with a look of defeat on his face. Burndead is shocked because he didn't know the training turned the boy into a monster. Brad begins to laugh the whole situation. He decides to offer Mash a deal. He wants him to enroll in a magic school and become the year's divine visionary. If he gets selected, it means the gods have accepted him, which in turn will lead to society accepting him as one of them. Brad wants the fortune and prestige that comes with it as his backer. Burndead tries to deter his son from taking the deal, but the officer hastily explains that the only other option is that they will get hunted for the rest of their lives. Mash decides to take the deal as he has always wanted to fit in. So with the aid of Brad, he gets a fake mark and is enrolled in magic school and hopes to be the best magician while not having any magic abilities himself. He stands in front of the school ready to crush his competition. That brings us to the episode to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe for daily uploads.